Hi students, welcome back. We are going to be looking into crystal field stabilization, energy crystal field theory and how it is going to affect a color and magnetism of coordination complexes. Most of the question in coordination come from this segment. Okay. Few years there is IUPAC questions, few years there is isomerism question, but pretty much every year you are going to get a question based on this. So please make sure you watch it a couple of times and also take notes. First, just one slide I have valence bond theory. Although it does have a lot more to be taught, I'll club it together with crystal field theory. So as always, my lectures are focused towards being able to solve NEET and JEE papers. Okay, so accordingly, I'll take this lecture in. So according to valence bond theory, the central metal atom can use its n-1 d orbital, s and p orbital, or ns, np, nd hybrid orbitals to form hybrids. So now here, if you see, there's a classification here. n-1d can be used or nd can be used. So it can be the d orbital inside the outermost shell or the outermost shell itself. Okay, these hybrid orbitals overlap with the orbitals of incoming ligands, giving rise to bonding. There are serious limitations of valence bond theory. Although it holds its merit, there are a couple of limitations that are extremely important and do come as NEET question. So it does not explain the color. So as much as it tells about hybrid orbitals, it doesn't tell why some compounds are colored and some are not colored. Same thing in the last point, doesn't explain magnetic data, why some are magnetic and colored while some are not. In a four coordinated complex, okay, we saw isomerism, we can have tetrahedral or square planar. VSEPR doesn't explain why it is sometimes the square planar, why it is tetrahedral, it just says it. These both are possible, and it does not distinguish between a weak field and a strong field ligand. Okay, but nevertheless it gives you a basis of what are the shapes possible, just like our chemical bonding we saw. In chemical bonding, what all shapes you saw, it's pretty much the same here. So coordination number is 2 orbitals are needed, 1 s and 1 p. 3 means 3 orbitals are needed, 4 means 4 orbitals are needed, so it can be sp3 or dsp2. This is the major difference compared to chemical bonding. You have the dsp2, n-1 d orbital can be used. It gives you square planar. 5 is not very common, but in chemical bonding we saw sp3d, here we are going to see dsp3. 6 is common, and most important, you can have two different hybridizations. It can be n-1 d2 sp3 or sp3 d2, d orbital from the outermost orbital. Okay, in both the cases, the orbitals used for bonding is dz squared and dx squared minus y squared. This comes as a question by itself, which orbital is used for bonding. So you want to make sure you remember this. Right. Moving on, because of the deficiencies of valence bond theory, crystal field theory came into picture. Basically, how the theory works out is, imagine the central metal atom is there. The d orbitals of central metal atom, there are 5 of them. Okay, they are degenerate, meaning they are equal in energy. They have the same energy in the absence of ligand. Okay, when an electrostatic field of ligand comes, meaning towards the central metal atom, imagine you are a ligand and you have 5 fingers. They are same. The ligand comes close to you. It affects certain d orbitals more than the other. Some of them are repelled more than the other. All of them are going to be repelled, some just more than the other. The ligands are assumed to move along the x, y and z axis, meaning the ligand is approaching you in only this axis, along the axis, not in between. They approach directly towards the lobes of x squared minus y squared and dz squared. That's because if you look at the shapes of d orbital, if you look at the shape, x squared minus y squared will have 2 lobes. Okay, so if you were to draw this is x squared minus y squared. Okay, this is x, this is y. So if the ligand is coming towards these axes, then it is going to repel these lobes much more than the other 3. Similarly, dz squared is along the z axis, right? So these 2 orbitals are going to be repelled more, whereas xy, xz, yz are somewhere in between. So if the ligand is going to come this way, it's going to repel this only very little. It's still going to repel, but not as much as these. Right? As a result, the electrons with the x squared minus y squared and dz squared orbitals experience stronger repulsion. Right? Now, let me put that in as a diagram. So if you look at it, I try to put all the 5 orbitals right here. I'm not sure whether you can see this. The purple one is x squared minus y squared along the x-axis and y-axis. Right? So if you see this along those axes, and this purple one is dz squared, it is also along the axis. So the purple ones are repelled more compared to the other ones. Alright. So just to make it clear, imagine the same, I am just going to ignore some of them. I am just going to ignore YZ and XZ. Only these three I am taking just for clarity. Okay. So now if you see, the ligand is affecting my dz square mode and also d x squared minus y squared mode, whereas my dxy is in between the ligand plane, so it is not affected more. So all these three are affected less compared to this. Because they are affected less, their energy is not as much as this. This energy goes up. Okay. Energy going up means not stable in chemistry. Okay. This is not going to be asked for you to draw or anything, but it just gives you an idea why these are going to be higher in energy. They are facing the axis along which the ligand is coming. Right. So now, how does it matter? When you take an octahedral complex, so when the d orbitals, there is 5 of them, the free ion is there, the 5 orbitals, they are empty or they are with the ions, electrons, doesn't matter. What happens is, they go up in energy when the ligand comes because electrostatic repulsion. So they go up in energy, and then some of them get stabilized more, some of them gets destabilized even more, depending on whether the ligand is coming in the axis and repels them or they are coming between the lobes. So here if you see xy, the lobes are in between x and y axis, but the ligand is coming along the x, y or z axis. So these three go down in energy compared to these two. Alright. So if you see, the distance between them is called delta naught. The naught stands for O, octahedral. Delta O stands for octahedral. And the 3 orbitals that get more stabilized are called T2G orbitals. And the 2 orbitals that are destabilized more are called EG orbitals. Okay. Now if you see, okay, there are 3 orbitals here. Okay, there are 3 orbitals. Each of them contribute 2/5 of stabilization. So total I have 6 by 5. Here I have 2 orbitals. Each of them contribute 3 by 5. So total 6 by 5. So these stabilize by 6/5. Right here negative. This destabilized by 6/5. So the total is still where I started with. Okay. Now what happens is, let's say for example I have to put electrons. So first electron will go here, not a problem. Second electron here because I have to follow Hund's rule. And then when I have the 4th electron, either I can pair here or put here. So what determines that is, if I had to pair here, I have to overcome electron-electron repulsion within an orbital. So that is called pairing energy, P. Okay. So do I supply energy to pair it or do I supply energy to take it upstairs? Okay. So here what happens is, if the separation is smaller than the amount of energy I have to pair, so what you would do logically, you would try to actually go and put it here. Correct? Because pairing I have to spend more energy, this is only I have to spend less energy, so I will actually not pair, I will put the 4th electron here. Okay, this happens in a weak field ligand. We will see in detail what a weak field ligand is. Okay, this happens in a weak field ligand. Now, if you look at it, if I paired it, the number of single electron would be 2. Because I didn't pair it, I have 4. So it's called a high spin complex. Okay. If suppose my delta naught is too much. Let's say for example you have to carry it one floor up and the floor is very high. What you would do? Okay, I don't want to go upstairs and waste my energy. I would spend a little bit more energy and just pair it here. So I would do this when my delta naught is too much. So instead of pairing, if I have to go there, I'll actually spend too much energy. So I don't want to do that. So I would rather pair it. So pairing happens. This happens in a strong field ligand. We will see what this means pretty soon. So now in a previous case I had 4 free electrons, single electrons. Here I have only 2. This is paired. So this is called a low spin. Spin is very low only because of these two, or spin paired. I'm pairing it. Okay. This is what you're going to get in most of the time in NEET. But you don't have to draw this whole diagram. I'll show you what is the fastest way to do. Right. So this is for an octahedral field. You want to remember which orbitals are used in the bonding. Okay, you need to understand this. Why this is because octahedral field can have two different types of hybridization. So octa means I need coordination number of 6. So I need to have sp3d2 or d2sp3. Right? So now doesn't matter which configuration you use, the two orbitals that you use for bonding is x squared minus y squared and z squared. So that might come as a question itself. So this is for an octahedral complex. Now for a tetrahedral complex, the starting is the same except it's the opposite way around. What used to be lower in octahedral has come up because of the axis. Similarly, these two are stabilized by 3/5 minus 3 by 5. Minus is missing here. This is destabilized by 2 by 5. Okay. One thing you want to know is that octahedral field can be small or large, but tetrahedral is always smaller. See, look how small it is. Literally, it's half. Okay, let's say 4 by 8, half of octahedral field. So this is not going to be high. So you don't have to climb a lot of space. So you are never going to pair. You're always going to put one electron here, second electron here, third will go here. I don't have to pair because pairing energy is much more than the energy I need to put here. So in tetrahedral you never pair. Right? Another thing you want to remember is make sure you remember this relation. They can give you delta naught and ask you delta t. Straightforward. And there you had T2G and EG, here you have EG here and T2G here. Right? Now just going back to the slide just once. So if suppose I have an electron here and an empty orbital here, I shine light on it. This electron can go here and then when it comes back gives you the light back. Okay, this is the reason why some complexes give colors, particularly coordination complexes, because you have DD transition. Okay, you might have heard the word DD transition. Now you want to get familiar with the term. If it's octahedral complex, it's T2G to EG transition. Right? Now we saw octahedral and tetrahedral, no pairing in tetrahedral. The next is square planar. When you take square planar, what happens is you start with octahedral. What has happened is anything that is along the x and y axis is higher in energy and z axis goes down. So you see here z axis and z squared, they have gone down. Xy is same, x squared minus y squared is gone up. Okay, so this is the order in which a square planar will fit. Square planar is not strictly in your syllabus, but you still want to remember. Just remember octahedral. If at all a question comes, this is all you want to know. Draw an octahedral and then pull everything that is involving with the z little bit down. Okay, this comes down and this also comes down, everything else is in place. So you will know the order. So what is the hybridization that you get for square planar? You get dsp2. Okay, this is the hybridization you get for square planar. They may ask you this question: what is the orbital used for bonding? D x squared minus y squared, the outermost orbital. Let's look into CFSE, crystal field stabilization energy. these degenerate orbitals are separated in the ligand field, you gain some amount of energy and you lose some amount of energy. What is the net stabilization energy you're going to do? So a couple of things that you want to know. Different ligands create crystal fields of different strength. So you are in the center as a metal atom. Different types of ligands are coming towards you. Some of them interact with you more, some interact less. Okay, accordingly the separation would be different. A strong field ligand leads to a larger delta knot. Okay, strong field ligand splits it more, a weak field ligand splits it less. And the color in the transition metal complexes will depend on two things. Okay, maybe if I write it down, it might be easier. So let's say for example I have three of them, two of them. This is the delta knot. So the delta knot for a strong field ligand is greater than a weak field ligand. Right? And electron going from here to here is DD transition T2G to EG. The color of this will depend on two things. It will depend on the separation. The separation depends on oxidation state of the metal and type of ligand. Okay, oxidation state means a 2 plus compared to a 3 plus. A 3 plus will accept electron better, so it will interact with the ligand better. So obviously oxidation state is going to determine the separation and in turn is going to determine the color. Similarly, the ligand, the one that can give better, a strong field ligand, will give a different color than a weak field ligand. Now, this is a spectrochemical series and you are expected to remember it. Okay, the whole entire order is given. The ones in the blue ones are weak field ligand, ones in the strong ones are strong field ligand. You absolutely have to remember which ones are strong field and which ones are weak field. The last two are carbon donors. Carbon is the atom that is going to donate. Okay, then you have here nitrogen donors, pyridine, bipyridine, okay, all this are. Okay, then you have your oxygen donors, oxygen, sulfur, okay, oxygen, oxygen, oxygen donors, oxygen donor. Then you have your halide donors. So remember periodic table, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, halides. So you see the order. This is the order in which they are going to do. That explains it because most electronegative doesn't want to give. Okay, so it follows electronegativity. And also you can remember this order also. So take HI, HBr, HCl, HF. The strongest acid is going to be in this order, meaning the basicity of the conjugate base will be in this order. That follows this order. Okay, you have to remember this. Again, a strong field ligand, the red ones split the crystal field more than a weak field ligand. Okay. Accordingly, this is what you are going to see for a high spin and low spin complexes. This is for an explanation. Okay, you don't need to memorize any of them. If you can calculate the number of lone electrons or the total number of electrons, you can calculate the number of lone electrons based on high spin or low spin. Now, if you see, I put this diagram for one particular reason. It does not matter it is high spin or low spin for D1, D2, D3, D8, D9, D10. They are the same. Okay. Only for these four it's going to be different. So when I have D4, 1, 2, 3, first 3 is okay. The fourth electron can go here. I can pair it or I can put it here depending on delta naught versus pairing energy. If pairing energy is less, I'll put it here. Pairing energy is more, I'll put it here. Same for the next 4. So you want to know the ones where you are going to figure out where it matters whether it's a low spin or a high spin complex. Right. Here's a simple diagram explaining to you how much it's going to matter. Remember, Cn we saw towards the end, so it's a high spin complex. It splits it more compared to water, which is a low spin complex. It doesn't split much. So the fourth electron enters the Eg orbital, whereas fourth electron pairs it up. Why this matters? This compound has higher delta naught. Higher delta naught means higher energy. Higher energy means more color. Okay. Now look at this one. This is small. Okay, this is extremely small. Alright. Now what all can you get from here? this is going to be a high spin complex, this is going to be a low spin complex. I can calculate the magnetic moment just like I showed you in your D block elements. Mu equals square root of n into n plus 2. Here n equals 4, where here n equals 2. Right? Now this compound, if it wants to form octahedral, it will use D2 sp3 hybridization, because there is one D here and another D. So knowing a strong field weak field ligand helps you in figuring out hybridization, color, and also your magnetic moment. Here's a couple of examples for the four that differs. So remember, in this slide there's these four that differ, so I can actually show you that. So for a D4, this is the difference between a high spin and low spin complex. This is for a D5, okay, and this for a D6. D6 is extremely important because D6 high spin has paramagnetic character, D6 low spin has diamagnetic character, okay, and this is D7. Okay, these are just for you to revise, practice it yourself. Now let's do an example. They might give you the formula or the name and they can ask you. So central atom is given, number of electrons. So ion is going to be 4s2 3d6. Ion 3 plus is going to be 4s2 3d3. Sorry. 4s0 3d6. So I have 2 okay, so what we can do is ion ground state is going to be 4s2 3d6. Ion 3 plus is going to be 4s0 3d5. So I have 5 electrons. Okay. So now oxalate is a weak field ligand. So this is all you're going to do in the exam. Weak field ligand, 5 electrons, 1, 2, 3. Weak field ligand, I don't pair 4, 5. Okay. It has MaE3, meaning it's a octahedral field. So I know it is an octahedral. It is a high spin. Number of unpaired electron is 5. So using the formula, you will get magnetic moment 5 point something. Whereas here when I go, this is copper. Okay, there is only 4, so it is going to be a tetra coordinated complex. Copper 2 plus is D9, so 9 electrons are there. It's a tetrahedral field, so it does not matter. It is high spin, low spin. There is no competition there. It is always going to be no pairing, so it doesn't really matter. It is always going to be high spin. If you look at tetrahedral field, this is what you have: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So there is only 1. So accordingly, it is going to be 1 point something. This is how you do. Right? Here's a list of things that you can practice yourself. You don't need to take time. You should be able to do it much faster. Just fill anything if you want. For example, we can try this one. So this is 3 minus, cobalt is 3 plus. So cobalt is, okay, maybe 4s2 3d 7. Cobalt 3 plus is 4s0 3d6. This is a strong field ligand. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 3d6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there is going to be 2 orbitals free. So I can have D2 sp3 hybridization octahedral. You can practice the rest by yourself. Color of the complex. So as I told you before, the incoming light can get absorbed and promote one electron to the unoccupied Eg orbital, and that can give rise to color. So we cannot exactly figure out what color it's going to be. Okay, it's hard to say, but we can know one thing. We can compare two different complexes based on the crystal field stabilization energy. So if you are able to know two different complexes of the same metal, okay, cyanide versus cobalt, cyanide versus chloride, cyanide is stronger, delta naught is 0, sorry, delta naught is higher. If delta naught is higher, lambda is inversely proportional. So higher the crystal field stabilization energy, lower the lambda. A strong field ligand splitting is large, delta is large, so lambda is small. Smaller lambda is closer to blue light. That's the light it absorbs. So what color you see is the complementary red color. Okay, it's as simple as that. This is a special case you want to know. Obviously, what's chemistry without exceptions? So this happens only for CuNH3 4 times, tetramine copper 2. Okay, so oxygen copper is 4s1 3d10, so copper 2 plus is 3d9. So now this electron gets pumped to the 4p orbital. This is an empirical evidence. Okay, you cannot explain why. They have figured it out, and they figured out, okay, this is the hybridization it follows, so it must be this way. So hence it's an exception. So this electron is, if it had been here, you should have got sp3 hybridization, but in dsp2 hybridization. Okay, it's an exception that you want to know. Alright, let's look at a few previous year questions. That's the only way to know correct order of increasing order of wavelength. So lambda is inversely proportional to energy or inversely proportional to delta naught. Okay, so they are asking increasing order of wavelength or decreasing order of lambda. So decreasing order of lambda means basically CFSE order. So decreasing order means as you go down, go from left to right, it should decrease. So you go from weak field ligand to strong field ligand. Right. So now you can see En greater than NH3 greater than water. Okay, as simple as that. But make sure that you correlate this relation. Another one is the hybridization involved in the given complexes. So you can do it really fast. Nickel is 2 plus here, because cyanide is -1, 4 minus means 2 minus here. This is 2 plus. Nickel 2 plus is S0 D8. Okay, if it's D8, it can be paired because it's a strong field ligand. If I pair it, this is what I have. So now what I have is dsp2 hybridization. Okay, and I need 4 orbitals dsp2, so it's a square planar structure. Which of the following statement about COCN6 3 minus is true? So this is how fast you can do. So this is going to be 6 minus, so this is 3 minus means this is plus 3. Cobalt plus 3 is, cobalt used to be S2 D7, cobalt plus 3 is S0 D6, strong field ligand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is going to be 0 unpaired electron. So no unpaired electron, no unpaired electron. This is wrong, this is wrong. No unpaired electron and will be in a high spin complex. Now this is a no unpaired electron and it's a low spin complex. Among the following complex, the one which shows 0 crystal phase stabilization energy. 0 crystal phase stabilization energy basically means, so imagine that you put electrons this way or electrons this way. Okay, in these two examples, right? The crystal phase stabilization energy for this one is, first one is, there are 3 electrons that are contributing to 2/3 delta naught. Okay, plus, so this is minus because it's stabilizing. Here plus 2 times 2 by 5, sorry, 2 by 5 delta naught. See, they cancel out, so this is 0. So anything that is a D5 high spin or D10 will have a 0 crystal field stabilization energy. So now you can try to find your answer. Okay, I will leave it as it is. I'll let you find the answer. A magnetic moment of 1.73. So what they are telling you is there is only one unpaired electron. Okay, now you can figure out which is your answer. If it is only one unpaired electron, then we can have what are configuration. So I can have okay. So these are all tetrahedral. It could be both ways. So if you see, if it's a 6 coordinated complex, I can have one unpaired electron this way, or I can have one unpaired electron this way. So it can be a D1 or a D7. Okay. For tetrahedral, it has to be this D1, because tetrahedral you don't pair. If you pair, you would get 1, but you don't get this, you only get D1. So try to find out which one is it. I'm not telling you the answer, that way you can practice it yourself. Crystal field stabilization energy is for a high spin D4. Okay, this is a pretty good problem. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. High spin D4. So this is D3. High spin means D4 here. So CFSE equals, so I have 3 electrons here which contribute to minus 2/5 each, delta naught, plus 1 electron which contributes 3/5. Correct? So this is 3 times 2 is 6 by 5 minus 6 by 5 plus 3 by 5 delta naught. So this will be minus 3 by 5 delta naught. So minus 3 by 5 delta naught is nothing but minus 0.6 delta naught. Right? Which of the following is an outer orbital complex? Outer orbital complex, they are talking about, all of them are octahedral. They are talking about which one is sp3d2. Inner orbital complex is d2 sp3. They don't want this, they want this. Meaning pairing should not occur. Here all of them are same type. Now try to write electronic configuration for all of them. You will see zinc can never be inner orbital complex because zinc is D10. You don't have to draw for them. This is D10. So there is no way this is going to be inner orbital complex. This is always going to be outer orbital complex. Alright, low spin D6 in a octahedral field. So they are telling you low spin 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this implies 6 times minus 2 by 5 delta naught plus 0. This is 0. So this is going to be minus 12 by 5 delta naught plus you have done 3 pairings 1, 2 and 3. So because you did 3 pairings, you need to add the pairing energy. So this is going to be minus 12 by 5 plus 3p. Alright. Okay, this is a special case I want to discuss. Nickel carbonyl, nickel CN4 and nickel chloride. They ask this many times in NEET. All of them are nickel complexes, but they do have different geometries. So this is the ground state of nickel and nickel 2 plus state. Now when I do nickel carbonyl, it's a strong field ligand, so it pairs everything up. Okay, here nickel is in zero oxidation state. Alright, so total 10 electrons, all of them are paired and I need 4 orbitals, so it becomes sp3 hybridization. Sp3 is tetrahedral. Whereas when I come to nickel cyanide, it is nickel 2 plus. Okay, this is nickel 2 plus. Okay, if this is nickel 2 plus, then what you have is 8 electrons, strong field, so it has paired everything. So you have dsp2 hybridization. So this is going to be square planar. The last is nickel with 4. Okay, so as you can see right now, this is a recurring example. As I told you, the same nickel, all of them are 4 different ligands, okay, but it follows a different types of hybridization in each case. So this is sp3 and this is sp3, so these two are going to be tetrahedral. This is going to be square planar, and these two are going to differ in a certain property. This is going to be paramagnetic, whereas this is diamagnetic. So this is a recurring example that you want to be familiar with for NEET. Okay, alright, lot of work right now so that it gets faster during the exam. Okay, alright, good luck guys, thank you.